What if the words you use every day are the reason opportunities slide past you? Not because something is missing out there, but because something inside you is filtering them out. Practice this speaking technique for 3 days, and you will begin to unlock your desires. Not by magic, not by fantasy, but by shifting how your brain reads the world and how your body prepares to act. Imagine a person who comes into my clinic, tired, frustrated, carrying a stack of half-finished projects and a small, constant voice that says, "You're not ready," or they'll laugh. On the outside, they look competent. Inside, a loop of self-criticism keeps their energy low and their attention narrow. They miss emails they might have answered differently. They skip opportunities to speak up. They postpone because their brain thinks the safest move is to stay silent. That internal commentary is not harmless. It changes the chemistry of your brain and body in ways that make risk feel heavier, creativity blunter, and persistence harder. If this feels familiar, subscribe and commit to trying this 3-day practice with me. Give yourself 3 days to change one small conversation, the one inside your head, and see what begins to shift. Your words do more than describe what's happening. They prime a biological system. When your self-talk sounds like a threat, "Don't mess this up. What if I fail?" A tiny almond-shaped structure deep in your brain, the amygdala, lights up. The amygdala signals danger and nudges the rest of your system to prepare for survival. Cortisol levels rise, attention narrows to scan for threats, muscles tense, breathing becomes shallow. This state is efficient for escaping danger, but terrible for creative problem-solving. Calm communication and noticing subtle opportunities. You become focused on avoiding harm rather than pursuing gains. On the flip side, when your internal phrases calm and orient you, "This is hard, and I can try a different way," your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that plans and weighs options, gets a clearer line of communication. That makes it easier to think of solutions, regulate emotions, and choose an action. Research and clinical experience suggest that supportive, specific self-talk can lower stress signals, increase feelings of safety, and nudge reward systems like dopamine and serotonin into more helpful patterns. In simple terms, words change how your brain interprets the moment, and your brain determines what you notice and what you do next. Think of your brain like a search engine with a filter turned on. Whatever you feed it with words becomes the query it uses to sort the world. If the query is "what could go wrong?" the filter highlights risk and criticism. If the query is "what might help me move forward?" new possibilities start appearing. That filtering mechanism is sometimes called the reticular activation system. Your brain's way of prioritizing what to pay attention to. The words you say set the search terms. So, how do we use speech on purpose? The technique I'm about to teach you rests on 3 simple, science-friendly shifts in the way you talk to yourself. Each one is short, usable, and backed by how brains actually respond to signals of threat, reward, and safety. First, compassion. Speak to yourself as you would to someone you care about. Harsh self-criticism keeps the threat alarm high. Compassion lowers it. Phrases that acknowledge difficulty without attacking your worth reduce the nervous system's reactivity and create a safer internal environment to try new things. Try lines like, "This is hard right now, and I'm doing what I can." That simple validation cuts through the loop of blame and gives your prefrontal cortex a chance to plan. Second, positive specificity. Vague cheerleading doesn't change much. It tends to bounce off as unbelievable. Specific, evidence-based statements do. Rather than saying, "I'm great," point to a concrete fact. "I completed the first draft last week, and that shows I can finish when I push through." Specifics provide the brain with credible signals that change the story it tells about you. Third, future-oriented present framing. This is the identity shift people talk about, small actions that count as votes for who you are becoming. Barring the simple idea that identity is built one choice at a time. Craft statements that claim the process in the present. "I am someone who builds the habit of finishing work. Today I took one step by opening the file." This frames change as ongoing and reduces the trap of binary success-fail thinking. Put those 3 together: compassion, positive specificity, future orient to present, and you have a portable toolkit for changing how your brain reads situations. Over the next 3 days, we'll practice a specific sequence that helps you notice the internal comments, interrupt the automatic loop, and replace them with targeted, believable phrases. The practice is simple, repeatable, and time-boxed so it fits into a regular day. Day 1 is about awareness. Day 2 teaches a reliable pause-and direct routine, and Day 3 turns the practice proactive, with 5 short speaking moments built into your day. Before we get into the step-by-step, let me be clear about what this will and won't do. This is not a promise that everything you want will instantly materialize. It is a method to shift your internal state in ways that increase your capacity to take action, notice opportunity, and persist. Over 3 days, you'll likely notice small changes, slightly more calm, a few new options surfacing, or a readiness to try something you avoided. Bigger outcomes require repetition over weeks and months. If you have clinical concerns, persistent depression, severe anxiety, or trauma, consider professional support alongside this practice. Let's begin with Day 1. Awareness. This day is all about becoming a careful observer of the internal conversation without judgment. The goal is simple. Collect data. You will log what your inner voice says, when it sees it, and what immediate reaction it produces. Start your Day 1 with a short journaling template you can carry in a notebook or a notes app. For each instance you record, capture 5 elements: the trigger, the exact wording of the thought, the feeling it produced, the bodily sensation or posture, and the action you took or avoided. Use short lines. Aim for something like this format. Trigger: what happened externally or internally. Exact wording: write the phrase you heard inside. Emotion: 1 or 2 words. Frustrated, anxious, resigned. Body: tension in chest, clenched jaw, shoulders up. Action: what you did or what you didn't do. You are not trying to fix anything on Day 1. You're not even trying to be kinder yet. You're building a neutral record. This is crucial because the brain can't change what it can't see. By the end of Day 1, you should have a list of repeated phrases and a sense of the patterns, time of day, people, contexts that fuel them. Here are a few examples of entries you might make. Notice the precise wording. Write down the thought exactly as it occurs. Trigger: received an email about a meeting. Exact wording: if I say the wrong thing, they'll think I'm incompetent. Emotion: nervous. Body: shallow breath, shoulders tense. Action: I reread the email 6 times and avoided replying. Trigger: looking at old files. Exact wording: you never finish anything. Emotion: shame. Body: chest tight, head down. Action: I closed the folder and checked social media. Trigger: friend success, post. Exact wording: what am I doing with my life? Emotion: envy. Body: stomach churn. Action: spent the evening scrolling. You don't need dozens of entries. Even 5 clear ones will give you the pattern you need. Notice the most common phrases and the contexts where they appear. Which words keep showing up? Those are the ones we'll target on Day 2. One practical note: be gentle with yourself while logging. If you catch a thought and immediately feel defensive, I shouldn't be like this, stop. Write the defensive thought down too. Day 1 is a reconnaissance mission, not a corrective exercise. Now, prepare for Day 2 by choosing a physical anchor you'll use to interrupt the loop. Pick something small and available, placing your hand on your chest, touching your thumb and forefinger together, or even pausing and lowering your gaze for a count. The anchor is just a reminder to take a short internal timeout. It helps translate intention into action when momentum pushes you toward automatic reacting. Day 2 is where the real technique becomes habit. Pause, breathe, and redirect. The sequence is intentionally short so you can use it in real moments without needing a quiet room. Whenever you notice an internal phrase that undermines you, do this 3-step routine. 1. Pause. Stop whatever automatic movement your body is making, literally freeze for a second and place your chosen anchor hand on chest, fingers together, etc. This physical interruption helps shift the brain out of momentum. 2. Breathe 3 times. slow and deliberate. Inhale for a count of 3, exhale for a count of 4 if that feels comfortable. The exact timing isn't critical. The point is to slow the nervous system enough to make space for a different choice. 3. Redirect with a short phrase that follows the 3 pillars. Start with a compassionate validation, add a specific evidence line, and finish with a present-focused identity or process statement. 4. Clarity. Here's a template you can keep in mind. This is hard right now, and I did X recently. I am learning to Y shorten it as needed. Examples make this concrete. Common sabotaging thoughts and sample redirections. Thought, I'm not ready. I don't know enough. Pause, breathe 3 times, redirect. This feels uncertain, and that's okay. I completed research on this last week, and I can take one informed step now. Thought, they'll laugh at me if I speak up. Pause, breathe 3 times, redirect. That worry is real, and I can hold it. I contributed useful ideas before, and today I'll share one clear point. Thought, I failed with that project. I'm hopeless. Pause, breathe 3 times. Redirect. This feels discouraging, and it's understandable. I finished the first draft last month, which shows I can complete work. What small revision can I try now? Thought, I'm too old, too late. Pause, breathe 3 times. Redirect. Age can feel like a limit sometimes. I notice that I've learned new skills before. Today I can practice one step that moves me forward. Thought, I don't deserve this. Pause, breathe 3 times. Redirect. That feeling matters, and it doesn't define the facts. I showed up and did the work. I can take this next reasonable step. Thought, I should do everything perfectly. Pause, breathe 3 times. Redirect. Perfectionism is loud right now. I shipped something imperfect last month and learned from it. I will do an imperfect version and check what I learned. The 3 breaths do more than calm you. They create a tiny gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where the prefrontal cortex can reassert itself and choose a different script. The anchor is simply a behavioral cue that you intend to change your pattern. If the redirect feels false, that is, if saying I can do this feels like lying, make the phrases smaller and more believable. Honesty matters. Instead of I am a natural at this, try I can take one manageable step. Instead of I always succeed, say I have succeeded before in similar ways. The idea is to give the brain credible evidence it can use. Positive specificity is your friend here. Cite what actually happened. Another tool for day 2 is the mini evidence check. After you redirect, ask a short question to generate a tiny, verifiable piece of evidence. What did I do in the last week that shows I can handle a step like this? Or, name one concrete thing I completed in the last month. These questions force the brain to search for facts, which it can then use to build a small, believable case for action. Practice the pause, breathe, redirect sequence in low-stakes moments. First, try it when you hesitate about a small task, making a call, sending an email, opening a file. Use the anchor deliberately. The routine becomes surprisingly quick once you do it a few times. The goal for day 2 is to interrupt automatic threat-based replies and replace them with short, credible scripts that favor action. By the end of day 2, aim for this checklist. You have an anchor chosen. You practiced the pause and redirect at least 5 times in the day. You noted how the redirects felt too big, too small, and adjusted them for record a short note in your day 1 log about which phrases landed and which felt forced. A common worry at this stage is social resistance. If people see me talking like this, they'll think I'm vain or weird. Keep this in mind. These are internal practices. You don't have to say them aloud in public. Use your voice quietly or say them mentally. If you want to speak them out loud, choose a private space. Share selectively with others who will support you. Not everyone needs to be told. Practice in safety first, then test aloud when it feels natural. Expect moments of falseness. That sensation, the phrase feeling like a lie, is normal because your brain is still wired to the old narrative. The first few rehearsals will feel awkward. That awkwardness is not a sign the technique is wrong. It's a sign your brain is checking whether to accept new evidence. Keep the phrases small, specific, and credible so your brain can register them without resistance. Now, let's move forward toward day 3, but not all at once. Day 3 is the day we shift from reactive practice to proactive structuring. Instead of waiting for negative thoughts to trigger the routine, you will place 5 deliberate moments in the day where you speak to yourself with intention. These moments are short, repeatable, and designed to seed the reticular activation system with the new queries you want your brain to use. The 5 moments I recommend are: wake up before a big task, after a mistake, mid-afternoon refill, and bedtime review. Each moment has a simple script that follows the 3 pillars: compassion, specificity, and future-oriented present framing. The scripts are short so you can deliver them in real life without resistance. Start by preparing your day 3 plan tonight. Pick the approximate times for each moment and set small reminders, a phone alarm or a sticky note. You won't need long. Each moment is under a minute. Your job is to say the phrase and notice any immediate change in posture, breath, or clarity. For the wake-up moment, keep it simple and setting focused. Stand or sit for a brief breath and say aloud or mentally, "This morning is a fresh step. Yesterday I completed X, which shows I have momentum. Today I will take one clear next step toward Y." Add a small bodily action, a stretch, a hand over the heart, to anchor the feeling. For example, "This morning I noticed the tension in my chest. That's real. I finished the outline last week, which shows I'm capable. Today I will spend 30 focused minutes on the next section." This wake-up phrasing does 3 things. It acknowledges the present feeling, compassion, points to a concrete example of competence-specific evidence, and names a manageable action as part of the identity in the present, future-oriented present. I want to pause there and emphasize how small these phrases should be. They are not speeches, they are brief, factual nudges that nudge the reticular activation system toward a different search query, from "what could go wrong" to "what can I try that helps." That change in query alters what you notice during the day. You begin to see small openings you might have ignored before. After this point, we've covered a lot. The theoretical underpinnings, the 3 pillars, day 1 data collection, and day 2 interruption routine. We've also laid the groundwork for day 3 and practiced the wake-up moment. The next is steppy, which we'll develop in detail, is how to construct the other 4 day 3 moments and how to string them together so they feel natural and not forced. We'll also dive into troubleshooting the 2 most common obstacles people report during the transition: the feeling of falseness and the temptation to give up on hard days. But before moving on, take a moment to reflect. If you've followed along to this point, you already have 2 practical tools you can use today: the awareness log and the pause breathe director routine. Try them now. Notice the first internal phrase you catch in the next hour and put it in your log. Use the anchor and breathe 3 times before you reply internally. Keep the redirect short and true. When you come back to this practice, you'll be ready to build the other day 3 moments and learn how to use them in social contexts, when others push back, and on days when exhaustion makes effort feel impossible. We'll also look at how repeated use of these speaking patterns changes posture, voice, and risk tolerance, the visible changes that let other people and situations respond differently to you. These are the mechanisms by which internal shifts open doors to external outcomes. For now, keep the focus narrow. Notice, pause, breathe, redirect, log what you notice, adjust your phrases to be believable. The small consistency of these micro-moments is what creates new neural pathways. Each time you redirect with compassion and specificity, you cast a vote for a different identity. Over the next 72 hours of steady practice, expect small but meaningful shifts in attention and energy. Those shifts are the beginning of unlocking desires, not by promising them into being, but by creating the internal conditions that make pursuing them more likely. Next, build the rest of day 3 around the other 4 moments so the practice becomes not just a reaction to old thoughts, but a daily scaffold that pushes your brain to search for better options. Each of these moments should be brief, feel doable, and follow the same 3 pillars: compassionate opener, 1 specific piece of evidence, and a present tense identity or process statement. Set small reminders tonight for approximate times so you don't have to rely on memory. The 5 moments: wake before a big task, after a mistake, mid-afternoon refill, and bedtime review create predictable nodes where your internal voice can be gently guided instead of left to run wild. Before a big task, this moment prepares you to act rather than to avoid. Choose a consistent opening a document, sitting at your desk, or standing up to enter a meeting. Pause for one breath. Place your hand on your sternum or clasp your hands together for a second, and say a very short script out loud or inside your head. Examples you can adapt. This is a high-stakes moment, and I'm nervous. Last week I sent a clear idea that moved things forward. I'll focus on one clear point to share. Or, if you prefer crisper lines, nervous is normal. I prepared for this. I will speak to the main point for 3 minutes. If you plan a presentation, break it into a micro goal, lead with one insight. The physical anchor helps shift from autopilot to active choice. The evidence line gives credibility. The identity line gives permission to behave as someone who takes manageable risks. Make the before task script precise to the context. If you are about to call a client, say, "Calls make me tense. I did 3 good calls last month." I'll open this with one clear question. If you are about to write an email, say, "I get stuck drafting. I finished an outline yesterday. I'll write the subject and the first sentence now." This is the same pattern. Acknowledge. Cite a small win. Name an action that makes the brain more likely to look for supporting details. After a mistake, this moment is crucial because it replaces shame loops with learning loops. Immediately after you notice a mistake or slip-up, use your anchor, breathe once or twice, and try a compassionate forward script. Keep it sharchy. "That was hard, I'm okay. I learned X and next I can try Y," or "I flubbed that." It's uncomfortable. "I did fix something similar before. What is one tweak I can try next?" If you feel the pull to ruminate, add a tiny micro-action to disrupt the spiral. Write one sentence about what you learned. Set a 10-minute timer to reflect, or send a brief clarifying message if appropriate. The goal is to shift the pattern from "I failed, therefore I'm doomed" to "I failed, therefore I have data," and your phrasing should steer your attention toward one specific next step. Mid-afternoon refill. This is a short recalibration when energy flags and automatic negative commentary often returns. Schedule this roughly halfway through your productive block between lunch and the late afternoon slump. Stand up, take a slow 2-minute walking break or stretch, then do a one-line refill. "My energy is low, and that's okay. I moved the project forward yesterday. For the next 30 minutes, I'll focus on the highest value small task." Or, "I'm tired. I did X this morning. I will do a 20-minute focused sprint now." The refill is not about pep-talking yourself into false energy. It's about acknowledging state and giving the brain a concrete, believable reason to engage for a short, defined period. Use a timer and a physical movement to anchor it, if this helps the body and brain coordinate. Bedtime review. End the day by scanning 4 wins and learning rather than piling on criticism. Keep this under 5 minutes. In your notes app or a notebook, write 3 lines. One thing that went well, one specific detail that supports it, and one small step for tomorrow. Script examples. Today I reached out to a colleague, and they replied constructively. That shows I'm building professional momentum. Tomorrow I will draft my opening paragraph for 30 minutes. Or a shorter mental wrap. I did finish the outline. That counts. I am someone who moves projects forward. Tomorrow I will take the next small step. This practice nudges your brain to file evidence of competence, making it more likely to surface similar opportunities the next day. For each day, 3 moment, keep the phrasing short, factual, and believable. If you find yourself saying grand statements that feel untrue, shrink them down to instead of "I am confident and successful," try "I handled one difficult conversation this week. I can prepare for this one." If a line still feels fake, move to a question. What is one small, verifiable thing I did recently that helps here? The question forces the brain to search for factual memory rather than inventing emotion. Practical timing and reminders. Set gentle alarms or visual cues rather than intrusive ones. A single morning alarm for the wake moment. a calendar alert 10 minutes before a planned task, a subtle phone notification for the mid-afternoon refill, and an evening reminder for the bedtime review are enough. Use habit stacking. Attach the wake script to an existing routine like brushing teeth or making coffee. Attach the before task line to opening your laptop lid. Attach the refill to standing after lunch. As James Clear suggests, identity builds via small, repeated choices. Think of each script as a tiny vote for a new self. Track progress with 3 simple metrics that fit the practice and require minimal effort. Metric 1. Frequency of recorded negative thoughts. On day 1 you collected entries, compare how many you log each day. Metric 2. Ease of redirect rate. Each redirect on a 1-5 scale for believability and emotional shift. Metric 3. Action counts the number of small steps you took after redirecting emails sent, calls made, pages written. These metrics are not about scoring perfection. They're about noticing trend lines. If you see fewer negative entries, or if redirects feel more believable, that's useful feedback that your reticular activation system is being nudged. Troubleshooting the 4 most common obstacles. 1. The feeling of falseness. Many people report that positive phrases feel like lying at first. That's a sign your brain is still defending the old narrative. 2. Practical fixes. Make phrases smaller and source them to evidence. Swap grand affirmations for micro-truths. I will try a short draft. Instead of, I am a genius writer, add an evidence clause. I finished 1 section last month. I can try another paragraph now. Practice the phrase silently first, then whisper it, then say it aloud as it gains credibility. If the feeling persists, use a process-oriented statement. I'm practicing being the kind of person who takes small steps. That phrasing acknowledges the gap while committing to the process. To social resistance, you might worry people will judge you if they hear you rehearsing. Keep the practice private until it feels natural. Use mental phrasing, whisper in your car, or step into a bathroom or quiet corner for an out-loud line. If you want to share, pick one supportive person and explain the mechanics. Most people respect an intentional practice. If feedback is negative or dismissive, treat it like another data point. You are not conducting your progress for everyone else. You are cultivating internal clarity. 3 hard days and exhaustion. Some days your body will not cooperate. When energy is low, use ultra-small versions of the practice. Shorten the script to 1 compassionate line plus 1 tiny action. For example, this is heavy today. I can do 5 focused minutes. Rely on micro-actions. Stand, stretch, send a 1-line check-in. Protect against abandoning the habit by reducing the demand rather than quitting. Remember, consistency beats intensity. On recovery days, treat the practice as a soft anchor that maintains connection to change rather than a performance to judge. For impatience, it's normal to want faster results. Reframe impatience as energy to be redirected. Create short-term signals of progress. Note 3 small wins each evening, or count the number of times you executed the pause breathe. Expect initial shifts, calmer decisions, more willingness to try but reserve judgment on big outcomes. Explain to yourself, in 72 hours I may see better clarity in a few different choices. In weeks, patterns shift. This timeline calms urgency and supports persistence. How internal changes translate into external opportunities. Words shift brain chemistry and attention, which changes what you notice and do. Here are concrete, observable pathways from the internal practice to external results. Attention and opportunity. When you repeatedly cue the brain to look for what helps, your reticular activation system begins to highlight relevant cues. People with shared interests, a deadline that creates leverage, an email that needs a reply. You will start seeing openings you previously filtered out. Imagine scanning LinkedIn with a softer internal scripty. Are more likely to notice a connection who can introduce you to someone useful because your filter is keyed to potential instead of risk. Energy and action. Lowering threat signals frees metabolic energy for action. When your nervous system is less occupied defending against imagined failure, you're less likely to procrastinate and more able to commit short bursts of focused work. That means you will try more things, and each attempt increases the chance of a useful result. Practically, you might discover you can write for 25 minutes without the old inner critic sabotaging you. Risk tolerance and attempts. A calmer internal conversation increases willingness to make imperfect attempts. As you tell yourself small, credible truths about past competence, you will be more likely to take a reasonable risk, apply for a role, pitch an idea, or ask for feedback. Those attempts generate data and social feedback that can shift outcomes even if the first tries don't succeed. Nonverbal signals and social reactions. Your inner voice affects posture, tone, and facial expression. When your self-talk is more compassionate and specific, your shoulders drop, your voice steadies, and your gaze meets others more often. People pick up on this. It changes how they respond. A short script before a meeting can shift your body language and, in turn, the reception you get. Persistence and compounding. Identity-oriented statements act as votes. Each small action you take after a redirect reinforces a pattern. Over weeks, these votes compound into habits that make persistence more natural. You will notice that what once felt like heroic effort becomes routine, small progress repeated until it is difficult to imagine being the old person again. Put another way, you are not using words to conjure outcomes out of thin air. You are using words to change how your brain sorts the world, how your body prepares for risk, and how you behave in small, repeatable ways. Those behavior changes are what create opportunities. Journaling prompts and accountability for the 3 days. To make the practice measurable and reflective, use a short, end-of-day journaling routine each evening during the 3 days. Keep it to 5 lines or less. 1 sentence. The most frequent negative thought I noticed today. 1 sentence. The redirect that landed best. 1 concrete action I took after 1 small win to celebrate. 1 step for tomorrow. If you like paper, use a small index card. If you prefer digital, a note in your phone works. The point is to collect qualitative data so you can adjust phrases and anchors. If you want external accountability, tell one trusted person you'll post a brief update after day 3. Public accountability can boost adherence, but only choose this if it feels safe. Scaling beyond 3 days, a sustainable path. 3 days will start the pattern. Sustaining it requires deliberate habit design. Here's a simple, realistic plan for the next month. Week 1, the 3 days plus 4 maintenance days. Continue the 5 moments, but reduce formal logging to once per evening. Focus on making the scripts feel natural. Weeks 2-3. Preserve the 5 key moments on work days. On weekends, reduce to wake and bedtime. Begin to expand the evidence statements you keep in a short wins file so specificity is easier. Week 4. Review your metrics: frequency of negative thoughts, ease of redirect, and action count. Identify one phrase that consistently helps and keep it as a portable script. Use habit stacking and environment tuning to support continuation. Keep your notebook near your bedside. Place a sticky note on your laptop that reads your before task line, or attach the midday refill to a short walk. The longer-term goal is not to talk to yourself perfectly at all times, but to make compassionate, specific, present-focused scripts the default in moments that matter. When to seek additional support. This practice is a behavioral tool, not a substitute for therapy or medical intervention. If your internal dialogue is part of broader symptoms, persistent low mood, suicidal thoughts, or significant functional impairment, reach out to a qualified mental health professional. If you are already in therapy, consider bringing this practice to your clinician as a complementary skill to work on between sessions. Realistic expectations and how to interpret early results. Expect short-term changes in how you feel and what you notice, small increases in calm. A few different choices, maybe 1 or 2 risks taken you would have avoided before. These are meaningful. They are the early evidence that the reticular filter is shifting. Do not expect dramatic external transformations in 72 hours. Larger outcomes typically require repetition across weeks. Celebrate small wins and treat setbacks as useful feedback rather than proof the method fails. Examples of realistic early wins to look for. Answering an email you would have postponed, speaking up once in a meeting, completing a short draft, or noticing a helpful opportunity you previously would have ignored. Each of those is a signal the internal shift is doing its job. Small habit variations you can test. Voice practice. Whisper the before task line instead of thinking it. Saying a sentence out loud can produce a stronger physiological shift than a silent thought, particularly when you add a small gesture like placing your hand on your chest. Micro evidence bank. Keep a digital note titled Evidence and add brief lines as they happen. Sent draft, answered call, finished 15 minutes, so you can pull these into your scripts quickly. Buddy check-ins. If social accountability helps, do a short check-in with one person each evening. A shared, "What did you try today?" from mutual encouragement. Examples of adapted scripts for different temperaments. For the logically minded, this is an uncertain task. Data point. I completed X last month. Microstep, outline 3 bullets. Now, this keeps emotion minimal and emphasizes concrete evidence and action. For the anxious person, I feel anxious now. That's understandable. I have handled similar steps before. I'll try a 2-minute breathing break and then one focused 5-minute task. For the perfectionists, perfectionism is loud. Last week I shipped something imperfect and learned why. Today I will do an imperfect 30-minute version and note one thing to tweak. A closing vignette that illustrates the chain of effects. Imagine someone who used to freeze at networking events. Their inner line before was, "No one will be interested. I'll look foolish." Over 3 days, they track that thought, anchor a pause, and use a redirect. "This is uncomfortable. I had one good conversation at the last event. My goal is to learn one thing tonight." They rehearse the before task script before entering the room. The anxiety doesn't disappear, but because their brain has been cued to look for learning opportunities, they notice a person who mentions an idea they actually enjoy discussing. Their posture is a little less defensive because their self-talk was less shaming. They ask one question and get a useful contact. The external opening follows the internal shift. Words changed attention. Attention created an interaction produced a small, concrete outcome. That sequence is what unlocking your desires practically looks like: fewer magical promises and more reliable internal conditions that increase the odds you will notice and act on opportunities aligned with what you want. Final practical checklist before you begin tonight. Prepare your day 1 log, notebook or note app with 5 fields trigger. Exact wording, emotion, body, action. Choose a physical anchor for pause, hand on chest, thumb and forefinger, lowering gaze. Set reminders for the 5-day 3 moments and pick approximate times. Decide on one accountability step, post a brief day 1 note publicly or tell a friend. Choose one tiny micro goal. You can aim for each day 1 email sent, 30 minutes writing, 1 outreach. You have everything you need to start the 3-day challenge tonight. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Keep phrases small, evidence-based, and presence. Track a little data. Notice what changes in your attention, your energy, and the small risks you begin to take. If a redirect feels false, shrink it. If a day is hard, lower the demand. If you need help, seek a qualified professional. If you're ready to try this, start tonight. Set up your day 1 log, pick your anchor, and prepare a reminder for tomorrow morning's wake moment. Then begin. If you're willing, post day 1 in the comments to mark your start, and subscribe for more practical, neuroscience-backed tools to help you keep the practice going. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions, just the willingness to notice one thought and choose a different, believable sentence in response. That small willingness is the first vote for a new identity and the first step toward unlocking what matters to you.